Hi everybody, Russ from My Hours 11. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Today's guest, his podcast, Back in the Day podcast, is really, really good. We'll chat about that in a bit. It's Gary. How are you, Gary?
Great, Russ. It's nice to be invited on to talk West Ham, both our main loves, I guess. So, no, really looking forward to it.
Don't tell the wife.
Don't tell the wife, no.
Very clever. How are you, man? How are you in this crazy world we live in?
Yeah, it's just like everyone, really, just sort of getting through, and just sort of taking the things we sometimes take for granted, and not taking them for granted anymore, really. And just enjoying listening to a lot of podcasts, really, at the moment. And there's a lot of them out there at the moment. And obviously, I tune into yourself and being a West Ham fan as well. So that's what I'm enjoying doing at the moment, listening to a lot of that. So
yeah, I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? Because it's because people got more time in their hands at home. That's why I started this, because I just had enough of watching, I don't know, Australian Married at First Sight or Love Island or whatnot. So I just thought, hey, it's a good excuse going to West Ham every evening for an hour or so. But I mean, how did you start the whole idea of Back in the Day podcast?
So basically, I during the first lockdown, I was listening to a lot of the Peter Crouch podcast, actually, which is a lot of fun, obviously, and just was interested in it. I've always kind of thought about doing it, but never really had the time. It's a bit like everything with this, with the lockdowns and things. Suddenly, you get the time, the opportunity, and you think, well, okay, why not? Let's give it a go. So I kind of did last May 2020. Started it. Did 10 episodes for season 1. Kind of started growing a little bit of interest with it. Decided to bring it back for season 2. So had some people that wanted to come on and chat about football. And it sort of just carried on, really. So it's predominantly 1990s themed, hence Back in the Day. I like talking about that particular decade. It's when I watched an awful lot of football growing up in that decade. That's when I started going over West Ham. At the back end of the 90s, had my season ticket over there. So I wanted to talk about that subject, about that period of time, because it was really important to me, and a time where I was really passionate about the game, football. So we're up to 18 episodes now. 2 more to go in this season for season 2. And I just put it out there, really, and kind of got it onto different platforms on Anchor, and now it's on like Spotify. And I set up my Twitter page, at pod BITD for Back in the Day, and Instagram as well page, and just try to generate more followers. So that's the idea, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm exactly the same. It was like, same thing. I sort of started as a little project. I didn't really think how it was going to develop, and then it just became this beast that is My Hours 11. And you're like, it's a bit like a runaway train at the moment. But I know what you mean. It's like, you're learning on the go, aren't you? You're learning about the podcast and the sound and recording and all this type of stuff. And you look at, say, oh, that's quite good from that. I'm going to use that. And, it starts developing your tools, and it is like a new skill, really. I think all of this stuff, it's sort of learning on the job, really, but it's great. I love it. I just think it's really,
I
really
do as well. I just think having that connection, with people talking about football. We all do it, don't we? We all, talk football a lot, and when we could go down a pub or things like that, or on the sidelines, in the stands watching the games and so on and so forth. We love talking about football, and this has sort of given people a platform to do that, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially over this period of time.
Yeah, and everyone, and as you said, there's no shortage of people having a go, and I think it's great because we've had lots of people on here who have just started, or we've had like young Jake who's 13 and he's doing really well, and it's great because it just means, as you said, you've had time to develop to do it. As you said, you probably wanted to do it for years, and you go, oh, I'd love to have done that, and actually you go, oh, fuck it, why don't I just do it now?
Yeah,
What else am I going to do? Sit there and watch the snowfall. Is the moment.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I think it's brilliant, man. I think it's great, and no, it's good, and it's not about necessarily for me. It's never about how many people watch it or whatever. It's, as you said, it's your own project. It's your love, isn't it? So you love doing it, and so if other people enjoy it, that's great, isn't it? That's brilliant. But
yeah.
you also coming out of it.
That's it. It's like you just really enjoy it the weekends or whenever you plan to do it, and
Yeah,
you enjoy that sort of hour or 45 minutes it is of just chatting, and getting people to listen is that bonus, and then if you get that interaction back, it's a lot of fun, and you
yeah,
get different followers and things like that show an interest, and they have some ideas as well for a future podcast, and
yeah.
that's
Oh
obviously
God, yeah,
how it grows. But I will say on here, I say episode 8 of season 1 is the Bobby Moore lower. So obviously we get lots of West Ham fans listening for this one. So yeah, that's a very West Ham orientated one. That one. So
sure.
that was
No
my
worries.
experience for my season ticket years. I used to sit in the Bobby Moore lower. Well, sorry, stand in the Bobby Moore lower. I will say.
Yes. I was about to say, yeah, no one sat down then, did they? The
No,
Bobby
they
Moore lower.
didn't.
No, I don't think so. Not even Elijah Wood. Even Elijah Wood didn't stand in the Bobby Moore lower. Uh,
No, that's it.
and obviously, obviously the boys are doing all right at the moment, aren't they? We're having not a bad season at the moment. It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, I know yeah, it's quite surreal. Obviously, really, the fact that we're not there. I know yourself. You're there, aren't you? And
Yeah, but
you're in the London Stadium. It's obviously not the same for you.
no,
There's no the fans are not there, and that's what's a shame about it. Um, and obviously, I've still got my season ticket with my dad. So obviously, we're not going at the moment and things like that. But nonetheless, we're enjoying watching it on the box.
yeah,
Mum's watching it as well. She's well into it at the moment. So we're all happy hammers in our house, like in the
brilliant.
household. So yeah, it's great. They're doing well, aren't they? Moyes seems to have sort of built a tight unit, and he's just the signings have been good, haven't they, Russ? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
good good business really, and that's not really been associated with us in the
no.
recent years. But I mean, the two Czech boys, Sufal
Oh,
and
I mean,
Socek.
yeah.
I mean,
4 times, you probably get 4 times your money from, I reckon, 4 or 5
oh,
times your money.
honestly, how valuable have they been? I mean, Socek with his
Oh,
goals. Obviously, he's got his red card rescinded, which is good news today as
yeah,
well, which is quite rightly so.
sure.
But all the players like Bowen works hard down the right hand side.
Mm.
Antonio's obviously adapted into playing up front. It's been so important for us. Um, Ben Rama's coming, and Ben Rama's, there was this talk of, he's the flair player who won't necessarily work for the team, but he's putting a shift in, isn't he, every game
Yeah,
as well for us?
yeah,
And that just shows the mentality, doesn't it? That and you've got Declan in the middle, and it's so
mm.
important. Obviously, we all say the same. It's important for us to hold on to him because he just breaks everything up, doesn't he? But I think from the neutral point of view, maybe not as much credit as sometimes as he deserves because he's a good footballer with the ball as well.
Yeah, very
Going
much so.
forward, he's not just backwards and sideways.
No,
He can use left foot, right foot, and spray the play as well. So yeah, we've got a nice balance. We're solid at the back as well, aren't we? So at the moment,
it's going well, isn't it? It's going well, and as you said, they've got this like team resilience, which I just love. I love the fact that even if we're like, I don't know, like 2-0 down, or to the Tottenham game, 3-0 down with
yeah,
15 minutes to go, coming back, and we can. It's just this team ethic, which I just haven't seen us have for a long time. It looks like everyone's in it together, not just the players, but the management, the backroom staff. There seems to be a real bond, and yeah, it's nice to see. It's nice to see. We've waited a long time for something like that, for a team like that sort of team ethic. Even in my opinion, even more so than the final season at the Bowling in terms of the team. I just think this team is probably one of the best teams I've seen for a long time at West Ham.
I mean, they're all pulling in the same direction,
Yes.
aren't they? They're all on the same page. They all know their jobs. They're working hard for each other. Morale seems good when you see the clips of, the training grounds.
Yeah,
Today they were throwing
definitely.
snow at each other, wasn't they? You've seen that on Instagram and stuff. And
Oh, I miss Colton Cold being there though. could have just dived
falling
in there.
over in the snow. It was Blackburn away, wasn't it?
Yeah, Blackburn away. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's good. It's a good time to be, be a West Ham fan. We're doing well, aren't we?
Definitely. Long may it continue. Long may it
Definitely.
continue. So the first question I tend to ask these things is why are you a West Ham fan? What's your story? Now, obviously, I understand your dad's a Hammer as well, so it might be something to do with it. But why? Why are you a West Ham fan? What's your story?
Well, that's it really in a nutshell. Is that it's a family thing first and foremost. A lot of my family are West Ham. Dad got me involved in football, and just as any normal boy, really, that his dad loved football, got me involved in it, and I went over to. He actually took me. My first game was I went to Harrington Parkson to watch him play first of all. He wanted to see if I liked it, and then he built me up. His uncle used to take him over Orient as well, so we went to an Orient game. Then he built me up, a bit more, and then obviously he was always going to take me over West Ham, and then quite a funny story really. He was due to take me in 1990 to West Ham against Hull when we won 7-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and couldn't get tickets for that one, but we went later in the month. We went to the Charlton game at home, and Mad Dog Martin Allen scored a couple of crackers, and I was just hooked after that. It was just like, take me again. I want to go, and we used to go sporadically, really through the 90s. I was lucky enough to go to some of the big games in the 90s. The Man United 1-1. When we cost them the league, Ludo obviously had an amazing game. I was there that game, which was a great buzz for me to look back on that now and what an experience that was.
Oh yeah.
And then, as I said, it kind of as I went through my teenage years, 16, 17, I then got a season ticket with my mates, and we were all going down the bowling all together, and just great days. And that back end of the 90s, obviously we stayed up with the Hartson and Kitson combination that obviously sort of basically just got us out of trouble, and then we kicked on that next season, didn't we? And those 3 years, I mean, I look back now, I mean, and what's happened in recent years as well, how lucky I was to have those experiences back in the 90s.
Yeah, it was a special time.
It was. I mean, we finished fifth, didn't we, one season, one of those seasons, like the season to go for there. So we were always in the top half. Seventh, I think, was another, and eighth, I think, the 3 seasons I went over there. So, and just hooked, and it's. And people talk about like the West Ham way and things like that, but a lot of what we talked about already, Russ, for me, is having a group of players that want to play for the shirt and play for the club and the fans, and they look like they care and they want to put that shift in. And I haven't got aspirations really for us to win the league and Champions League and things like that. That's not what it's about for me. It's about that camaraderie between the team, the players that that are doing it the right way. They work hard first and foremost, and they care for the shirt. And then you've got a few mavericks thrown in there every now and again, with that get us off our seats and things like that. And that's what I like, about, and that's why I'm a West Ham fan, because I think we are like that. I think, and I'd love a cup run as well. I love a cup run, and let's hope tomorrow night we kick on in the FA Cup. That's the hope.
That's the hope.
So. Yeah, and the league position looks good at the moment, but if we finish in the top 10, and I know that might sound a bit pessimistic, bearing in mind where we are, but I'd be pleased with that, and progress a little bit in the cup, and I'll be happy. What a great season!
Yeah, I think now for me, it's not necessarily where we finish this season; it's where we finish next season now.
Yeah,
because we traditionally have a really, it's a cyclical thing. We have a really good season, and then we'll have 3 seasons of relegation, lower table, and say if we finished 10th, like say we finish 8th or 9th this season, so we finish the same next year. That's progress. That's
Exactly.
progress. That's what we need. I think that's it's great having the one-off season and the boys of '86 season. All that stuff is brilliant. But then if it's followed up with a crap season, it's like that's what I think we need now. This solidity, get a base, get like a minimum of where we'll finish. Then occasionally you'll have that really shit season where it all just collapses. But if you're always like the top 10, that's progress for us, definitely.
Oh,
Not exciting. It's not necessarily exciting, but as a club, I think that's what you need. And then he said, then you get 10 points. I said we finished. We're doing 39 points. That's where we finished last season, and we're just coming to February. So as I said, it gives the opportunity for the cup games. You win. You've got 4 cup games we could win, and you've got a trophy.
yeah, exactly. And we'd love that, wouldn't we?
Oh,
I mean, we think back to 2006, how close we come.
yeah, exactly.
And it'd be lovely to get there again, and this time to win a trophy. I'd love to see that in my lifetime, that we've actually, like I said, not necessarily the league, but the FA Cup would be nice. So, even the Carabao Cup, something, bit of silverware. Obviously, we've got playoff finals. We probably count those.
Yeah, we do. We count
those
Cup.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Anglo-Italian Cup back in the day as well.
yeah.
So,
Into total, we'll count it all.
yeah, but yeah, it's. I think you're totally right. I make you right, Russ. I think we just want consistency, don't we, over there? And it seems like hopefully hopefully Moyes has got that, and he's buying the right players. The right players are coming into the club, and it's about kind of just kicking on, as you say, next season, and just being consistent. A bit like what I was saying at the back end of the '90s, when we were consistent year after year, and we were top half finishes, and that's why it was a good period of time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Although, if I'm right, didn't we finish 5th and have a negative goal difference?
I think you're probably right.
I'm right thinking about that. Yes, so I thought typical West Ham, innit? Typical Harry. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think the fans deserve a bit of solidity, and in terms of just that sort of just for their own self-being than anything else. We can't keep these relegation battles and these struggles and save our season matches and stuff like that. It's nice, and it's weird. We've been so used to that I can't. I'm not used to looking ahead rather than looking back. You know what I mean? Looking below me. It's like the other day when like the Liverpool game happened, and I went, "Oh, that's a good result for us." What? For us? Oh, if only we could have gone above them if we'd won. It's like, oh, Russ, stop it. It's it's the hope that kills you. That's the trouble, isn't it?
That's the thing is, but no, you're right. It is nice to look up though and think, how results above us are affecting potentially our season, not below us. Yeah. And it's a nice change, for a season. But as you say, next season's important. Can we continue the progress that we've made this season? Definitely.
Most definitely. Right. Okie dokie. Let's talk about your Hammers 11, Gary. So obviously everyone we have on the channel, that's it. God, it was called for a minute. The channel, that's it. On the channel, gives a Hammers 11, basically their own 11. So you can pick whatever criteria you want to put on your players. It doesn't matter. It's your 11, but the only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. That's the only rule. Otherwise, we'd have all put Bobby Moore in our team, Billy Bonds, but we never saw him. We never saw them. Never saw Trevor Brooking play. Saw him manage, but not play. So it's that's what we try and do. So and I think we've had about something stupid like 280 different player names across the 65 some interviews.
Right.
So yes, some unusual ones. But that's what it is. That's what we do. So that's what we're going to do with you, Gary. So let's start off between the sticks.
So I've already mentioned him already. That 1-1 that Man United game. Ludo McCloskey goes in. I just really liked him when I was growing up. I was young. I couldn't believe how far he could throw the ball. He could throw the ball just as far as he could kick the ball. He had
Yeah,
a really good, a different sort of kicking technique as well. I
yeah,
remember, which was quite unique, and I quite liked that. He, I wasn't a goalkeeper when I was younger, but I still got the goalkeeper tops because he was like one of my sort of favourite players, a hero. Um, I sponsored his gloves one year. My dad, when the days when you could sponsor the players gloves or boots, and I was in the
yeah,
program, I
yeah, yeah,
sponsored his
yeah.
gloves for a season. That was quite nice. We share the same birthday as well, myself, my dad, and Ludo. So that's
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So that's another thing as well. And I was lucky enough to meet him once when I was younger, Junior Hammers Day.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's a summer fete or something, and I've
yeah,
still got the picture to this day, which is great. But yeah, I just like he was just a really good goalkeeper. He was he was reliable. He was like any goalkeeper, he could make the odd mistake, but 9 times out of 10, he put a decent performance in for the Hammers. So yeah,
yeah.
Ludo goes in goal for me.
Yeah, he was one of those players. It was funny. It's like I look back at him and he was always in goal for us. Like, I
Yeah,
always just remember him being in goal. You know what I mean? He was in goal for years and years and years, it seems. And no, he's as you said, a lovely bloke as well. And I just think with Luda, I think he's one of those keepers. He's sort of in that succession of there was Parks and obviously then it was Ludo, then it's probably someone like Rob Green. So we've always had a strong goalkeeper throughout sort of every generation of West Ham fans. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
like now, for example, obviously Fabianski now is an
of
incredible
course.
goalkeeper. But you're right, Ludo he was just so unusual because he was like the first sort of foreign based player, like proper foreign based player. I mean, no disrespect to any of the Scottish guys or anything or various others, but he's the first one I can remember playing for West Ham.
Yeah,
No one had heard of him. Um, no one knew where the Czech Republic was or Czechoslovakia was at the time, clearly. And he was just a top guy. And as you said, he had this, he's kicking sort of sideways on, wasn't he? He'd have this sort of
yeah,
sideways on kick. Funny way of doing it, as you said. And he actually got loads of assists. I mean, we had Morley on, we've had a few, we've had Slates on, and they accredited Ludo to some of their goals because obviously he kicked it so far. There was the one goal I saw the other day again, which was I think it was Sunderland where Ludo smashes it to Dolan, who chests it to Slates, who volleys it into the corner. The ball never touched the ground, and absolutely amazing goal, and it was all from Ludo's one of his
all
absolutely
from
monster
Ludo.
kicks. Yeah, exactly. So we'll put Ludo in. Let's go with let's find where's my thing? Where am I going? There I am. Okay, let's go. Who's gonna be? You go, Gary. Who's gonna be next player?
Right, I'm going to go right back,
Sure.
and I'm going to go 90s feel as well. When I was younger, just watching West Ham first of all when I was growing up, and just this guy was really steady. Tim Breaker, I'm going
Oh
for.
yeah, the robot.
That's it. Um, yeah, just like I said, just steady. He got forward as well. I mean, they talk nowadays about kind of the fullbacks getting forward.
Yeah,
Um, but Tim Breaker was doing that in the 90s. He was. I remember um, he always used to get down the line and put crosses in.
yeah.
Me and my friend Cole, we always talk about this actually, but we always remember he always used to kind of fall over when he crossed it as well. He put so much into his crosses. It,
Yeah,
yeah, he did, and it'd be interesting. Like if West Ham fans want to watch it back, but he seemed to kind of just fall over when he put a cross in. But his delivery was really good. It was a good delivery. Yeah, and he had his own technique with crossing. But yeah, just steady. Just again a committed player that played for the shirt. And was fairly that early 90s was pretty much a shoe-in for that position.
yeah,
Probably Potsy went sometimes right back, but I mean, I'd say I'm looking, at the moment as well. Sue Fell. I mean, as we spoke about earlier, what a signing he's been at right back.
yeah.
But and there's other people obviously you can think of, but I'm going to go with Tim Breaker for sort of longevity. Really, seemed to be there
Oh,
for
definitely.
years. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's often not forgotten about. That's my expression, but because he was always there and he was always
yeah,
just so dependable, so reliable that. I don't think he's given enough credit as a player, and so I actually, and it was only because I've been watching loads of the like Robert Banks's season like season reviews he's put on YouTube, and you didn't realize how much he bombed forward, how many assists he got. You know, he had a
Yeah,
shot on him as well. And you know, when I spoke to him, I said I never really appreciated you when you were playing because obviously I was probably young as well. So it's like it was always
yeah,
about Bishop, and it was always about like Morley and all the the flashy players, so to speak. But
yeah,
yeah, Tim Breaker was just an incredible, and he was like like the modern. A bit like Soufal is now. They're very similar if you look at them. In terms of how they bomb forward quite a lot. Tim was
yeah,
always bombing forward, and overlapping the wingers and stuff. And so yeah, he was a great player and a lovely bloke as well. Right,
yeah.
okay, Mr. Breaker is in. Who is next then, Gary?
Well, I'm going to start on my centre halves here, and I kind of sort of mentioned him already. I'm going to put Potsy in there, Steve Potts,
Yes.
um,
Steve
and
Potts.
just the reasons really, like similar, steady, reliable, play for the shirt, love the club, um, and as I mentioned earlier, with his only goal came against Hull, and I would have
And you missed
potentially
it.
seen his only goal, but and yeah, he obviously scored one goal for West Ham, but it wasn't his job, was it? It was to defend, and
Yeah.
yeah, and basically he just was everything I kind of liked about a West Ham player. He's just no airs and graces, did his job. He knew what his job was. He was
Mm.
effective at it, and like I said, he could play centre half or he could play right back. But yeah, I've gone with Timmy and then Potsy alongside.
Nice. And as you said, he's one of those players. I mean, we did a whole night about him a few weeks ago. One of those players that if he was 5 inches taller, he'd have been an England regular, wouldn't he? Because he
Yeah,
was that good. He was such a good player, so reliable, as you said. And it's nice to see like people like Potsy still involved in the club. He's obviously with the under 23s and stuff.
definitely.
And yeah, he's a legend, isn't he? Absolute legend of the club. Right. Okay. Breaker's in. Potsy's in. Who's the other centre half then?
I'm going for Rio.
Rio.
Yeah, so going late '90s now, around when had my season ticket with my mates, and just like Harry Redknapp, I listened to his podcast the other day, and he was talking about Rio again, and he obviously
Mm,
describes him as the Rolls Royce
yeah.
of a defender. But people outside of West Ham will talk about his experience at Leeds and United, and that's when he became a player and stuff. Rio was brilliant at West Ham
Mm,
at a very early age. You could see the potential in him, but it wasn't just potential. He was a very good player from an early age,
mm,
and I just thought he was just class. I think having experience around him when he first come through, Redknapp used to play the back three, didn't he, with the wing backs at times, and having Rio sort of in that sweeper position with some experience next to him, like Stuart Pearce at times. Razor Ruddock was there as well. I think he played alongside Igor Stimac as well. So experienced players around him, which helped his game develop, and it meant
definitely.
he could come out with the ball, couldn't he, as well?
Yeah.
And just, I mean, uh, Soccer AM, you'd have a showboat in a real one. He'd be on there. He'd be one of the ones on there you centre off. But he was, and I've got fond memories of watching him sort of come through, and obviously we got big money for him, 18 million, wasn't it, at the time for
Mm.
Leeds bought him. But we had a fair few good years with him in the
Oh, he
team.
did. Yeah. He was one of those players who was just like, from a young age, it was clear he was going to just be the player that everyone thought he was going to be. And obviously, we've had players on the channel who are around when we had his brother on here as well. So and
Yeah,
even at that age, he was a class act and absolutely incredible player. One of those frustrating things in my is that period because obviously we had all these fantastic young players and we sold them all and what could have been if we kept them when we had Harry on the channel. He openly said that he reckons that if we kept them all we'd have probably won the league because they all went on to win the leagues and win
they
Champions
did.
Leagues and stuff. So it's like
Yeah,
vis-a-vis, he would have still been, so it's a frustrating time. But obviously everyone's proud, when you saw like Rio and they saw them, you know, Frank and Michael Carrick and Joe Cole, and you saw Glenn Johnson. You saw these guys playing for England and stuff. You're thinking, there's always, still sort of pride. We had Tony Carr on ages ago, and he gave his 11, and it was basically the England 2010 World Cup squad. And it's fuck, all these players have come from the academy, including JT and stuff as well. And it's like, Jesus, the quality that we produced at that time, and still doing it. We still got some great young players. Obviously, we got Mipu, we got obviously Johnson in the team. You got Connor Coventry, we got Trott, we got loads of guys. Obviously Deck as well. They're always great. There's still a great. The academy is still very strong. We had Kevin Keane on the other day, and he said, there's the future's looking very bright for West Ham kids coming through. So long may it continue. That's what we like, don't you? As you said, we like players playing for the badge, but we love a youngster. We love an academy boy coming through.
And that's it. And I think at that time, like you said about the young players coming through, but we had a really good mix there as well with the experienced players. And I think we're getting that right now, actually, with the that right mix between experience and youth. And hopefully that long may that continue, as you say.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Okay, so we've got Rio, we've got Breaker, we've got Potsy. Who's next?
Right, there's only one man that can be left back. One of my heroes growing up, Julian Dix.
Raz Van Rat. Oh, Julian Dix. that joke never goes old, never gets old. Julian Dix, Dixie.
Julian Dix. I mean, when I first started playing football, actually, I was a left back. So, and obviously being a West Ham fan, I watched him play, obviously quite regularly.
Sure.
He had his reputation, of course he did. But that guy just give 100% every game, or 110%, as he used to say. He used to give 10% extra, and he was just strong, wasn't he? Strong in the tackle. You felt good when he was on the pitch because you felt like he would carry the team along and get a result. He's a great captain, great leader on the pitch. Wonderful left foot as well. I mean, his vision, crossfield passes. He scored a number of goals, his assists, penalties. I mean, the famous ones. I mean, he scored loads, but the famous ones, Spurs and Man United, when he, the 4-3 Spurs game under the lights, and United when we were 2-0 down, got back to 2-2, and he nearly took Schmeichel's head off with it, I think, and then the net after that. I mean, just great way to take a penalty, and it was nice as well. I had the opportunity to go to his testimonial as well, which obviously was an interesting one with Bill Power. Quite appropriate, really. But no, brilliant player, and in my opinion, and a lot of West Ham fans' opinions, should have played for England. And maybe his reputation unfortunately went before him, but that wasn't right in my opinion. So
definitely. I think obviously been very fortunate to have him on the channel a couple of weeks ago, and an incredibly nice bloke. And as you said, we spoke about the testimonial, and he thought he was brilliant. And when Kanye got sent off, he was like, because he said he was. I think he said that he was in the dressing room like half time, and DeCanio walks or something like that. DeCanio walks in and said, "Oh, sorry, I've been sent off," and Julian just absolutely like doubled over in belly laughter. He was like, "Good on you." It wouldn't have been a Julian Dix testimonial without a sending off and a punch up. And
that's it.
By all accounts, I think Atletico Madrid wanted something like something incredible amount of money to play the game. So he was like out of pocket, like before they even kicked off, or something ridiculous like that.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. But as you said, he's just a phenomenal man and lovely bloke and a great player. And as you said, people of a certain generation, he's our generation. He was our hero. He was our hero. As I said, he scored the first ever goal I saw at Upton Park. Rephrase that. The first ever West Ham goal. The first goal was scored by the other team after about 30 seconds. And when I told him that, I went, I scored 2 that day, Russ. I know you scored 2. I know you scored 2, but it was like one of your 30-yard thunderbolt things. But absolute legend of a man. Right, so that's a back 4 and a goalkeeper that Pretty tasty there. Pretty tasty there, Gal. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move into midfield. Who are we going to start with, mate?
Right, I'll start right midfield,
Go for it.
and I'm going to go for Trevor Sinclair.
Tricky Trev.
Yeah, and just out of interest, actually, I was listening to Joe Cole's podcast yesterday
Yes.
that he does,
With Tom.
and Trevor Sinclair was a
Yeah.
guest. It was a really interesting one. It was a good insight, and he was talking about his time at West Ham, and I just liked him from the outset, and probably like yourself. I mean, his first game against Everton, he scored 2 goals in his debut, endeared himself to the fans straight away. He played in different positions. He was versatile, wasn't he, Sinclair? Like, we played with wing back sometimes. As I said earlier, he would play as a wing back. He would play as a right midfielder. He played as a striker sometimes as well when we were struggling with when Ian Pearce was up front in the relegation season. He talked a little bit like that on the podcast as well with Joe Cole. And it's just goals and assists. The famous assist with Di Canio's goal. The crossfield pass. And he scored a fairly good one himself, didn't he, against Derby, the overhead kick as well. So he pitched in with some really good goals. Obviously he was famous for the QPR one he scored, but he did score one for West Ham as well, and against Derby, I believe. So yeah.
Sometimes it's not a lot surprises me in football nowadays. I don't think, same as everyone, but we had so at the moment around the ground outside they've got these stickers like fake, like big, like panini sticker things, like because they're under 25 years, and it's sort of like legends. There's like Martin Peters and Bobby Moore and Julian and Rio and stuff like that. And before one game, I had to walk around and I saw there was 2. I saw one for one player and one for Sinclair. And obviously, we've had them on the channel, so we're relatively friendly, which is nutty. I can't believe it. That's just weird, but we are. And so I sent Trev a picture of it, and I said, "Oh look who's on the stadium," type thing. And he sent me a message back, and it made me stop in my tracks a little bit, because he was so humbled by it. Someone who's played the World Cup, he's played for City, he's played for all his teams. He was so touched by the fact that there was a picture of him on the stadium. I was like, that's just mental. Because you don't think of it, you assume like not they don't care. It's the wrong expression, but
I know what you mean, and that's kind of what he was talking about with Joe Cole. And Joe Cole actually said in it, and he said when he was talking to Trevor, saying, there's this reputation about footballers that they don't care, but like, we really did care, and they talked a little bit about the relegation season as well. And that doesn't surprise me what you said there, like how sort of humble. He definitely comes across as humble, and he still loves the club to this day, doesn't he, Trevor?
Loves it. Yeah, he loves it. And he can't do anything enough for you. So we had him on. We did an appreciation night for him as well, and I messaged him to say, "Oh yeah, Trev, we're doing a night." We did one I think it was a week before, and we had Hartson. And so I messaged John, I think he was like commentating the Welsh game or something like that. And he sent a little video, like a little WhatsApp video I played. It's like, "Oh yeah, thanks for this. I can't be there. I'm doing the get well, but good luck. And I'll check in later and watch it all. So don't slag me off," type thing, And I said to Trev, "Do you mind doing something like that?" And he went, "Oh, what time's it on?" And he says, "I'll send me the link. I want to watch it." And then he turns up. To his own testimony, his own like appearance night. You're like, "This is your life," type thing. And I didn't tell the others, and they were actually like, "Oh my god!" They're like little boys. These are like Ryan from West Ham Fan TV, and people are like, people know, And what Trevor had done is off his own back. He'd went and bought a load of shirts from not M&M, some Score Draw, official ones, not the £17 ones. And he said, he signed it, and we put it for the raffle. And he did that for his own back.
Oh,
I was
that's
like, "That's amazing! That's amazing!" The fact that he's done that. And he just, he does love the club, and he still loves the fans, and they still love him, because he said it was that part of that period where it was, or hopefully up until now, was our most successful period in the since the '86 lot. So
yeah, definitely
top bloke, top guy. Right, okay. Tricky Trev's in. Who's next then, Gary?
Right, I'm going centre midfield now, and I'm going to put Johnny Monks in there, John Monker.
Oh, shout! What a
Yeah,
shout! Where is Johnny? I've got
um,
him on here somewhere. How do we find Johnny?
yeah,
Oh, yeah. There he is. There he is. He's
yeah,
here. He's there.
exactly. I was going to say he's got his own song, and he really was here, here, there, and everywhere, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's not the actual lyrics, but
Mm.
as we remember. But no, but I like John Monker.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, before like technically very good player, actually very skillful. Um, Loved his step over, but he used to fool everyone with it.
Yeah.
Right foot, left foot, could go both sides. Just was a very technically good player, good midfield player. When he was at Swindon and we bought him for West Ham. Um, but he also adapted his game, didn't he? And then he becomes sort of like, that hard man midfielder
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
loves
Yeah.
to tackle. And, as youngsters, we were, betting with each other, probably not that much money, about £1 or something or whatever. What minute's he going to get booked?
Yeah.
And I guess everyone around the ground was thinking exactly the same.
Yeah.
But he was just, it was a way of getting the fans going, I think, as well. And I think that's what he was really good at. And, he always put a shift in. He played for the shirt. He had his shirt out. He was, he just went all out, didn't he, all the time, Johnny Monks?
Yeah. And I think because he was the cheeky chappy, he had this sort of endearing quality about him. I think, he was very much sort of the old, it was, and again, it was part of that era, and that was
Yeah,
my favourite era of West Ham. Hopefully, it might change. Hopefully, it might change. But
yeah,
it was a different time, and it was, there's, as you said, you had people like Sinclair, you had Monks, you had Razor, you had Ian Wright, you had these players who were just larger than life characters, and we had it was such a funny time, like Monks, as you said, when he, and then that sort of second period where he became the hard man and basically he became a substitute pretty much, didn't he?
yeah.
And just him running along the touch line. He would not get away with some of the stuff he used to get away
Oh,
with.
no, yeah.
There was the female linesman. I remember him sort of he was like jockeying behind her, like, I won't do the hand movements, but he would be slung up now doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But stuff like that. It was like, oh, John, as you said, like people used to count literally in seconds how long it would take him to get his first foul, his first yellow card when he came on, and brilliant,
yeah.
absolutely brilliant, and crazy man.
I mean, yeah, and they talk about the training ground stories and things like that. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough, actually. My work experience when I was 15, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and a groundsman West Ham come up, to West Ham fans, so I went over there as a groundsman over there for a couple of weeks over
Wow.
Chapel Heath, and it was over this period of time. So Trevor Sinclair had just been bought. And like you didn't get to see much because obviously you were doing the work and bits like that. I didn't get to
Yeah.
speak to them anyway. I was quite in awe of it, really, being that
Yeah.
young as well. But yeah, it was a good experience for me. Like seeing those players, a little bit in training and things like that. And they talk about like Redknapp used to have the gates open really, and people used to come in and see those mad things that Johnny Monks was
Yeah.
probably doing
Yeah.
at times. Yeah,
Yeah. He told us them all. I
yeah,
think when I interviewed him, it was really funny because like he started off all a little bit reserved because like he's calmed down a little bit,
yeah,
and then when we started talking about them, because he knew like I interviewed like Razor and I hadn't really interviewed Trev since then or something. Like, yeah, I've interviewed a few of them, a few of his teammates. And then it all just like he had like this like verbal Tourette's. He just came out, and there's this other time I did this. Oh, and there's this other time where I ran around naked because they didn't get me any kit. And this other time I did, and he's like literally like blum, blum, it all just came
yeah,
out. And it's like, oh, it's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. And it's like I missed that time. I really missed
yeah.
that time of being a
Characters.
West Ham fan.
They were characters, wasn't they?
Oh, just so much fun. Football, but it's not just West Ham. It was like I don't think we get that in general. Even like you think other clubs, they were you had the crazy gangs and you had that, and it
Yeah,
was you had that sort of like it was just fun. Football was fun. It was I think it's now so serious. There's so much money in the game that it's
yeah,
become like uber serious and uber professional, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's great, but God, I miss a training ground prank on Sky Sports or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or
Oh, definitely, yeah.
just a bit of
I
fun.
just, you've alluded there to like Razor and Ian Wright as well being characters. I mean, I remember I was in a Bobby Moore lower like in my season ticket years, and
Mm.
things against Man United, and they crossed the ball. Razor had handballed it. It's clearly handball, but it went off, and they said, "Oh, it was a corner." And he turned round to the fans. He went like that, and like sort of gave us a little laugh in the Bobby Moore lower. And we're
I
like,
remember.
"Oh, brilliant!"
I
He's
remember.
got away with one there, and if
I
it
know. I
was
got that
like
one.
that,
Yeah.
and obviously you had Ian Wright with Razor with the the Di
The
Canio thing
cameo
before he
thing. Yeah.
signed and stuff, and it was good times, wasn't it?
I remember one lap of, they used to call them lap of honours then. Now they're lap of appreciations, but a
Yeah,
lap of honour, and it was Razor, and it was he started. He was it wasn't in this team, so he was sort of suited and booted as he was walking around, and by the end he just had his pants on. Because literally he was throwing his shirt into. I remember he threw his shoes in there, and
yeah,
literally all that was left was him in his pants, and just, just. And I remember, I think Monks was in that, wasn't playing as well, and I think he did a Klinsmann dive in the corner, and he had like literally grass all the way down his suit. I was like, absolutely crazy, these people,
yeah,
but we loved them. We absolutely adored them.
yeah. It was
Right.
superb.
But I think because they had a bit about them, as well as the personality, as you said, Monks was an incredibly skillful player
Yeah,
as well. So it wasn't just pranking. He was just like that was his personality, but he had the skill to back it up. And I think that having that combo just makes you a West Ham great straight away. Straight
yeah,
away.
definitely. He's one of my favourites from that period of time, Johnny
Yeah.
Monks, definitely.
Me
Yeah.
too. Right. Okay. Monks is in. Who's he going to partner in that central midfield position then?
Right. I mean, you could talk about different players here. Obviously, Nobes could have. I wanted to give him a shout out for what servant he's been to the club. But I'm going to go with Joe Cole
Yeah.
in the centre. Probably didn't play as much in the centre as probably what we would have probably liked, I guess, throughout his whole
Definitely.
career actually. But yeah, just exciting academy product.
Yes.
He was so skillful, excited talent. He just had no fear when he first come through.
Mm.
Like I talk about Soccer AM again, he had his own showboat in Real One Soccer AM with Di
Yeah.
Canio
Yeah.
and that when he was coming through. They did. It was on every week. It was brilliant. It all stems from that 1999 Youth Cup final, and I remember going over there, and seeing some of the ridiculous skills that he was doing, and thinking, "Oh, get him in the first team." And then he obviously made his debut against Swansea, which actually, funny enough, was Julian Dixie's last goal. I believe I was there that day as well for West Ham. And then obviously he scored his first goal against Bradford, that famous 5-4 game, and he jumped into the crowd. But yeah, just love watching him play. It was just like it was again, like we said earlier, Russ. It was a young academy product coming through, and
Definitely.
it was exciting talent, and we had some
Mm.
exciting players. We had Di Canio there as well at the time, and it was just a joy to watch. That's what I found anyway.
Oh, definitely. He was one of those players, as you said, from a young age. I mean, we knew about him from probably about the age of about 13,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Really. I mean, I remember when Jem announced when he signed his pro forms. Do you remember he did him on the pitch?
yeah.
Poor lad, 16 years old. I think it was against Chelsea as well, ironically. And it must. I mean, hopefully he's gonna come on soon, and I'd love to just ask him about that time because like the pressure, it's like, and that was before sort of, he was the first one I can remember that, from a young age, people go, oh, this guy's going to be good. Now it's like you got loads. You had Sancho, you had Bellingham, you had, Foden, Grealish, all these players who are going to be the next Gaza, the next from the, it's a conveyor belt now, isn't it? In
Yeah.
terms of the next young one, but he was the first one I can remember in the modern day who was going to be the next
Yeah.
Gaza. And as a 16-year-old lad, or even that, 12, 13, everyone knew about him already. Must have been so much pressure on him. So much
Oh,
pressure.
no, definitely. But he just seemed to, take that and just
Yeah,
he was straight away. He just wanted the ball. Yeah, such a young player, and I know kind of they talk about young players sometimes that no fear at times.
good point. Yeah.
but like you said, that potential, that pressure, but he sort of again just endeared himself to the fans. We like a technically good player
Yeah,
who'd do something a bit different, and he offered that. And obviously later on, he captained the club. Obviously ended with the relegation. But interesting, like I said, I listened to that last night actually, the one with Trevor Sinclair I said earlier. Um, and he just said like the guilt, like he kind of felt through
yeah,
that relegation.
yeah,
And he took a lot of responsibility for that, being captain at the time
yeah,
as well. But he was still a young man, he was 21 years of age, and you say that you're captain in a club at 21, and the amount of pressure and sort of
mm,
the regret really about what happened that season, carrying that. um, and you can tell he still loves the club.
yeah,
Obviously, he come back later on, didn't he? Allardyce brought him back later on. Obviously, it was different because he, had his injury problems and things like that. But
mm.
I was buzzing when he come back to the club.
Yeah. I
It's
think
nice.
yeah,
When an old player comes back, we
yeah,
love it, don't we? So
yeah, and it was sort of that was like it was almost like the last chapter of a book. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was like.
yeah,
He sort of like he definitely bookended his career at West Ham, and a lot of people, but like both sides. Usually, you only get like the younger or the older. You don't get the both.
yeah,
And he genuinely bookended his career at West Ham, and I just think he had unfinished business because of the relegation. That's
mm,
the way. And for me, I always had this assumption that that's always been niggling inside him, and to then have played for your country, to have won Champions Leagues, probably, trophies, all these trophies, and to still want to come back and have this burning
yeah.
ambition. As soon as it's like, do you want to come back? Yes, I'll come back. It's not. It's sort of like it just shows you how much the club meant to him, and
No, definitely.
yeah, no, I just think he's a brilliant man, and yeah, hopefully we'll have him on soon. Be good.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so we've got Monks, we've got Joe. Who's going to be on that left hand side then?
Right, before I name this one, I just want to
Yep.
give a mention to Stuart Slater, because I loved watching Stuart
Oh,
Slater when I was younger, when I
and
was when I was
have you
growing
watched
up.
him on Twitter now? He's reopened his Twitter account. And he's doing the kick
Keep
ups at the moment.
Yuppies.
Yeah,
Yeah, I retweeted him yesterday. Actually, funny enough.
I love Slates.
Yeah, he was just brilliant. Sorry to sort of
No,
he hasn't quite made it, but um, and there's a reason for that. But I really liked watching him play when I was younger. And I was actually, when I was younger, I was scouted for West Ham and played for 3 years from like up to the age of 11. And one of the sessions, Stuart Slater come to do one of the sessions with us as well, which
no
was
way.
really, really good. It was so good to have like, you supported them anyway. And he was one
Yeah,
of like my favourite players at the time. But yeah, he was, and do you know what? He might have made it in here maybe if he hadn't had that, successful spell when he moved on to Celtic, didn't he? If we'd had
yeah,
him for longer, would have been good, I think, because I think,
definitely.
and maybe he would have said the same, that maybe his career would have gone down a different
Well,
path potentially.
when we had him on, it's like it's ridiculous how many people we've had on this channel. But when we spoke to him, he was saying, yeah, I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, maybe. I mean, he said hindsight's a great thing, Russ.
Yeah,
Maybe I could have stayed at West Ham, but my idol wanted me to sign for his club. So
yeah, that's it,
Brady
isn't it?
wanted me, and
Yeah,
it's like I could not turn that opportunity down. Who said that opportunity is ever going to come again? I said, nah. I mean, we get it. He says, I said, and if that had taken off as much as you wanted it to, then we wouldn't be talking about it. It's, he said hindsight's a great thing, but yeah, he was, he again, another guy, another. I mean, everyone clearly loves the club after they play for them, it seems, and he's very much in that boat. And the same way that he was when you was young, he was like the turned up for sessions and stuff like that. That's happened to him. So when he was young,
yeah,
he said when he was like 12 or 13, something like that, when basically West Ham had already sort of said to him, look, our eyes on you. He had Ray Stewart turning up to every Sunday league game he was playing.
right, okay,
Ray
yeah, that's a
Stewart,
great story.
he went, Russ, come on, I'm a 12, 13-year-old bloke, and I've got a kid rather, and I've got like a West Ham legend turning up and
Yeah,
watching me every game. And I was like,
that's great.
that's
I mean, what a buzz that
crazy.
is.
Oh
Yeah, he
God,
was.
mental.
Yeah, he was. yeah, I just really liked Slapes. I thought
Yeah,
brilliant player. And like you said, he's opened his Twitter page and doing the old keep you up. I do some coaching and things like that, so I've already pinged that round to people to have a look at the kids I coach. Yeah, have a look at this. I mean, he was a great player. But the person I've chosen, it might be a little bit controversial, bearing in mind the way he left the club. But I'm going for Dimitri Payet.
yeah,
Um, and obviously there was controversy, obviously how he left the club, and I've talked a lot about playing for the shirt and loving the shirt and the club and things like that. And potentially, the way he moved on doesn't fit in with what I've said previously.
mm,
But um, that season, that last season at Upton Park, it was a great season anyway. But what a player he was for us that season.
oh yeah,
Just,
unbelievable.
I mean, me and my dad we used to get, either drive or get the train down to the ground, and we used to say to each other, Russ, we used to say, what is he going to do today? Like, we were
Yeah,
buzzing before we even arrived, and we hadn't really had
yeah,
that for such a long time. Like Di Canio was before then, Tevez was like slightly in the middle there. That player, that like I said earlier, that maverick that could do something different that we all love at West Ham, and he was that, and it was just. And I just remember, like like his song and like his song, the fans singing his song, and when he come back from injury, and like the hairs on the back of your neck going up like that. That crowd was like everyone was singing his name. You know, and he just brought so much up the skills, the assists. I mean, the goals, the free kicks. I mean, we've obviously playing Man United in the cup tomorrow night. That one, the top corner.
yeah.
I mean, what a great goal that was. The Palace one, I still don't know what happened there. Bamboozled the goalkeeper. That one. I mean, we talked about the cup run as well. Blackburn, a solo goal he scored. He always
Yeah,
scored good goals and assists. Middlesbrough at London Stadium. People might, not remember that one because obviously he left shortly after that one. Um, and also the assists. I mean, the amount of assists he had, and crucial ones as well in the Man United game, the last game at Bowling. The assist for Antonio's goal and
yeah.
Reed's goal as well. Without that delivery, that doesn't happen. So, he just, was just brilliant. He was just brilliant to
He was.
watch.
He was.
You know,
He was just brilliant. And you're totally right. He's one of those players who he comes around once in a generation. In terms of how skillful he was. He was an incredible player, incredibly skillful, and was just like one of the most. Well, I mean, how often will we probably see a Ballon d'Or nominee in our team?
yeah,
Do you know what I
exactly.
mean? It's just mental when you think about it. And so, as I said, yeah, the way he left, but then today, he was one of those maverick players, wasn't he? That, as
Yeah,
you said, we like those maverick players, but a lot of them come with baggage. Di Canio came with baggage. He came
yeah,
with baggage. Someone like Arnautovic came with baggage. That's what they get. It's almost like this other side to them that they'll throw their toys out the pram and stuff like that. And I think it's just one of those things where we should appreciate what a great player he was, and I think we do now. I think people have gone, yeah,
yeah.
because as he said, he didn't like throw his toys out of the pram, and say I want to go to Man United or Real
No,
Madrid and Barcelona. He went back to the place where he came from,
yeah,
and they opened up their arms to him,
mm,
and paid twice what we paid, and and he did the same thing to them as he did to us, and so it just shows you how good of an influential player he still was, in that they were
yeah,
they were welcoming him back with open arms. But yeah, absolute class player. Okie
yeah. He was
dokie. So
brilliant to watch.
he was just like, as you said, like a bit like when Julian or Ray Stewart or Mark Noble, there's a penalty. That was the same as a
Yeah,
free kick with him, which was absolutely amazing. Free kick in the 30, anywhere in the 30 yards of goal, you think, yeah, we got a chance here. We got a
yeah,
chance here.
definitely,
So
100%.
absolutely brilliant. Right. So we put Dimitri Payet in. Let's go strikers. Who's going to be your first striker?
Right, okay. Well, this one was kind of changing. I mean, I like watching Johnny Hartson back in the
Yeah.
day. He didn't quite make it in there though. I mean, Tony Cottee, he come back in the 90s, but obviously he was probably more so in the 80s, probably before
Yeah,
I sort of really was getting into it. McAvenny, lots of strikers I could have I really liked at the club. But I've gone for this player purely because of I'd seen him before prior, Carlos Tevez. I'd seen him prior playing for Argentina,
yeah,
and this was before he was even linked with West Ham. And I like the way he played because he just he's pressing, he's closing down, just harried defenders, was in and around defenders all of the time. And
yeah,
then when it sort of transpired that we were buying him alongside Mascherano, it was like, what on earth is going on here?
yeah. What's going on,
And
guys?
I know I've talked about longevity at the club and things like that, and he wasn't there for long. But again, like Pyatt, it's the impact over that period of time was quite significant.
Yes,
Um, that's why he gets into my team. Is the significance behind it about what he achieved at the club.
yeah. And I think also with someone like Pyatt, with Pyatt obviously and Tevez, you're very right. Yeah, they didn't play. I mean, I think Tevez probably only played like I don't know 20 games maybe for us or something like
Yeah,
that, ridiculous.
yeah,
But it was the impact he had on the team and on the fan base, wasn't it? We just took to him. And
yeah,
it doesn't matter necessarily how many games you play. Oh God, I got so excited there. It doesn't matter how many games you play, but it's whether and it was very much like its own soap opera. Carlos Tevez was because firstly he comes in, we don't know what the hell's going in, how we've got this guy and Mascherano playing for us. Then Mascherano's not playing. Tevez is playing. Tevez is running around like a blue ass fly, basically trying to do everything,
yeah,
and wasn't scoring for toffee. He'd hit the bar or I remember there was a period where he just literally the goalkeeper saved everything. It seemed every goalkeeper he played against for a few games, like they were just like worldies,
so
having worldies.
vendetta against him.
Exactly, a bit like Ben Rama now. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
he just can't get a break. And then when that first goal came in, that was it, wasn't it? That was it. Then he was absolutely
well, and
flying, and
what a goal that was as well against Spurs. He's always nice as well,
yeah,
isn't it? So
and I think it was someone. I can't remember who it was. It's going to annoy me now. Maybe been Anton or someone like that. When we interviewed him, said that was the goal that Carlos basically came off and realised what it was like to be a West Ham fan. Because it
yeah,
was Tottenham, and you can understand that because then it was like, he just got the fans and the fans got him. That was the one game. It's funny when, it's always against Tottenham. As you said about
yeah,
like
it
Johnny
is.
Hartson and stuff like that. Johnny
Yeah,
Hartson scored his debut. Cotty scored his debut against Tottenham.
yeah,
We still talk
definitely.
about Ravel Morrison scoring against Tottenham. It's still always about Tottenham. Tottenham and
Yeah,
Man United. Those are the two games, isn't it, that can
that's
make
it.
and break a
They're the
player.
ones that always sort of stick in our minds, aren't they, as West Ham
Yeah,
fans? Are those games and definitely and yeah, he scored that goal and then it sort of kicks on from there. But players that season as well that sort of deserve a shout as well. Bobby Samora was brilliant that
yeah,
season alongside Tevez, who chipped in with the goals. A young Noble coming through as well, chipped in
yeah,
with goals as well. And yeah, he always did have a sign as well, didn't he, Tevez? And
yeah,
I do remember actually, Russ, funny story for you. New Year's Day, lashing down with rain, Reading away, lost 6-0,
yeah,
and this was before we were going to go on this run that we did when the Great Escape. And I'm sitting there in the West Ham end, and we're about 3-0 down after about 15 minutes, 4-0 down by the end of like half time. And it, like I said, it's lashing down the rain. And and when the fifth and the sixth have gone in as well, I'm thinking to myself, what on earth is Carlos Tevez doing on the bench? He was on the bench. He didn't get on, or he got on towards the end, and I'm just standing there. But I'll tell you what I'd say about West Ham fans, as we both know that they were still doing a conga in the rain. Some of those fans around the
yeah,
stands at Reading. So, but I was standing there thinking, why is that man on the bench? Because he
yeah.
wasn't getting in the team, was he, at times? So it's
No,
mad when you think
no.
about it now. So
It's crazy. There's a great book. Daniel Hurley's done it about that season.
just bought
It's
it
called the
actually.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
had Daniel on. He's a top guy. It's a really good book. Really good book because it's like it's all about that that season, just a really effed up season, and so it was really really interesting to read all about that. That is very good. Okay, so we've got Carlitos. Who's going to be the last player of of this team, then, Gary?
Right, okay. It's got to be one man, another sort of hero of mine, Paolo Di
Yeah,
Canio. Yeah,
yeah.
Paolo's got to go in. Um,
Daniel.
just what can I say? I mean, I was lucky enough to be there for his debut. He come on at Wimbledon away, 0-0. Foe's debut as well. God rest his
Yeah,
soul.
yeah.
And and Johnny Hartson was making his debut for Wimbledon the same day because it was part of the deal, wasn't it? That we'd sold Hartson, got some money in, and we got Di Canio for ridiculous, like 1.5, I think it was,
Something
ridiculous at
silly,
the time.
yeah.
It was obviously the reputation that had gone before him, as we said earlier. Um, but yeah, it was brilliant to watch those seasons because we were so good at home, and it was just like it was our talisman at home, giving the ball, we do something. So many great memories of him that season. I remember the goal against Arsenal when he's cut inside Keown. Keown's still looking for the ball now, I think, and he's hitting to the top corner. Um, uh, just not. Do you know what? Home form was a lot to do with him and about
Yeah,
how he performed. I
definitely.
believe, and he didn't always chip in away from home. Paolo didn't, but he scored some important goals away from home as well, like
Yeah,
Chelsea away. The volley was
yeah,
a good goal. A good goal is an amazing goal. Man United in the cup when Bartes has put his hand up. The 1-0 win.
yeah,
But you know, it was brilliant to watch the skills. Just the Bradford game with Lampard, the penalty,
yeah.
just just the drama around him, the song singing Paolo Di Canio again. It's like that Pyatt moment, hairs in the back of your neck and things like that.
Very true. Yeah,
Just brilliant times, and I was there for the greatest goal I've ever seen live against Wimbledon, the 2-0 came at home. And Freddie Canute debuted that day as well.
it
He
was. Yeah,
scored,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and he played very well. So I like Freddie as well. But the goal, I mean, Foe out to Sinclair, the raking pass across the pitch, and I was in the Bobby Moore lower, as I said, Russ, and it's obviously down the other end, and it seemed to be a delay before the crowd erupted. It was almost
Yeah,
like it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
what on earth have we just witnessed there? Is that
Yes.
true? Have we actually seen that? And it was probably like split seconds or seconds, but it just seemed like there was this delay that seemed
Yeah.
to last for ages, and then we
There
just
was
erupted.
there was a player, I can't remember, it was an interview I was listening to. It might have been a Peter Crouch in one of his podcast
Right.
ones. And it's that, and I think it was, he said the best goals are where there's that delay. So the ball
Yeah.
goes in, he said, a split second delay, and then the crowd are reacting to it because it's so good.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a gasp, and it's almost like their brain's trying to register what's happened, and then there's the jubilation. He says if it's a good goal, it's like the crowd straight away, but it's a really
Yeah.
good goal when there's a slight pause before the crowd, and that
Yeah.
was the slightest, as you said, but it seemed like because everyone just stood there going, what the,
Just
what the hell?
absolutely in awe. It was. It was just mad, wasn't it? It was just. I mean, the technique. Not many players can do that. It's a
No,
unique goal, and that's why. And people will say you're biased because you're West Ham and so on and so forth. But the technique is still one of the greatest goals that I've ever
yeah,
seen.
definitely.
And probably a lot of other people will say the same as well. And interesting, like I said, that podcast with Joe Cole and Trevor Sinclair, they talked about it, and they said he used to do it training all the time.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing.
It
We
was
had
normal to him. You
exactly.
know,
We had Ian Foyer on, the
right?
American
Okay, yeah, I
goalie,
remember.
and he basically lays down that he was completely responsible for that goal because because apparently Paolo was like
Right,
they were
okay.
doing it in training and it was coming off occasionally. And then he went, no, 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 no. And he made Ian stay out for like 2 hours or so after the game, after the training. Some
Yeah,
youth team, got some youth team boy to literally cross balls for 2 hours, literally, until he got it. And when he scored it,
yeah,
and Ian says it, the really thing that fucks him off is because literally, like, the camera pans away. But apparently, what happens is Di Canio scores, he does the I can't do no more, I can't do no more.
yeah.
He runs down
That's
the
it. Yeah,
touchline and jumps into and like jumps into Ian's arms or says, that's for you or something like that, straight to Ian.
Oh,
And
really? Oh, right,
but
okay.
no one's no. I was like, okay, Ian, okay, whatever, Ian. It was like, no, honestly, Russ, it happened. I was like, okay, yeah. So that's apparently the truth.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
that is
so that's
brilliant. That's like you said about the celebration, and that's noted as well. It was like literally, wasn't it? That I can't do no more. That's
yeah,
like that's the pinnacle. But it was for all of it. Like we were just so in awe, wasn't we, of what we'd
yeah.
seen? I mean, the guy was a magician, and
Oh
and
yeah,
he brought us so much joy, and I'm proud to be able to talk about that goal. That I've seen that live as well. I was in the stadium for that goal. And
definitely.
it's nice to be able to talk about that so many years on, and obviously talk about that this evening. So
Yeah, no, definitely. And Paolo's one of those players who just made you smile.
yeah,
He just made you smile. When you think about him now, you smile because it's the theatrics. It's he as you said, in the same way that you said you get excited when you know Pyatt's playing. It was that and more of the Canio,
yeah,
in my
of course
opinion.
it
It
was.
wasn't just the
Yeah,
skill. Pyatt arguably was a more technically gifted player, in my
mm.
opinion, but he didn't have the drama. He didn't have the
No, it
flamboyance,
didn't.
the Italian flair. He
Yeah,
was quite sullen, wasn't he, Pyatt? Whereas Di Canio was just like the entertainer, and he thrived on that. And as you said, you didn't know which Di Canio was going to turn up. That's what I always found out. What
yeah,
was exciting for me? Was it going to be the child who throws his toys out the pram? Was it going to be the magician that turns at Martin Keown inside out and Tony Adams and make
yeah,
David Seaman like an idiot? And that's why I love that period, because it was so unpredictable. Like that Bradford City game, that epitomized that period of West Ham.
definitely. I agree.
When you turn up going, oh, we got Bradford. Oh, it's gonna be a fun game. We still talk about it 20 odd years later. Do you know what I
I
mean? It's just
It's had
mental.
everything, didn't it? Everything
Oh, it's
that game.
crazy. It's
And
crazy. Right.
and and how many penalties would he have got if VAR? What do you
Oh,
reckon? He would have definitely
could you
had penalties that
imagine?
day, wouldn't he?
Yeah, we definitely got the penalties. He wouldn't have had to
He would have done.
sub
Yeah,
himself off, whatever he did last time.
he was brilliant.
Right.
Superb.
So that's the team. There's the team. We got Ludo in goal. We got Timmy Breaker. We got Potsy Rio. We got Julian. We got Trev Sinks. We got Monks, Joey Cole Pyatt, Di Canio, and Tevez. That ain't a bad team there, Gal. I tell you, man.
Cheers, Russ.
That ain't a bad team. We'll probably first on match of the day. Maybe not always for the winning. Maybe
That's it.
second.
It's a lot of flair in there, isn't it? So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. And we brought back the team sheet because I've had someone criticise that I don't do the team sheet. So I brought it back just so that person can shut up complaining after every video. Okay? All right?
yeah,
Fine. Anyway, there we
brilliant.
go. Gary, thank you so much for your time, man. We'll
No,
put a link
thanks.
to the Back in the Day podcast in the description below. So check that out. And this is an episode,
Top man,
series
Russ.
1, episode 8 is the one you guys want to get on for the West Ham
Well,
lot.
West Ham lot will probably, hopefully, like that one. It's about the Bobby Marlowe and my experiences. So yeah,
Brilliant.
that's a good one.
Lovely
Yeah,
stuff. And obviously, thank you to everyone for listening to this or watching it on YouTube or Spotify or whatever it is. If you
brilliant.
are listening to it on Spotify, just go straight on to Back in the Day now. Might as well.
That's it.
Innit?
Thanks,
Might
Russ.
as well. What else are you going to do? And for myself and Gary, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Get your jabs. Come on, you irons. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love. Come on, you irons.
See you, Russ.
Can't
Cheers,
find the
mate.
button. See you later.